Yeah, it happens. And I don't know what it is about this show. Hey, look at that. We're live. We're live. You folks have no idea the struggle that it is sometimes getting the internet to cooperate with here, let's bring Daryl in here. Getting the internet to cooperate with our plans, such as getting this stream started so we can talk about Philmont and all the cool stuff that comes along with that. You know what? I'm going to keep shuffling here while I'm talking because I've been playing musical laptops until I got one of them to work well enough. We got some sound in the background from someone there.
Not me.
I'm just going to start muting people so it goes away.
Oh, it's Daryl.
I think I muted him right before he. I'm gonna mute him again. I know it's a challenge. Look at that, Gizzard Gary, first one here. Good to see you, Gary. And Facebook user, that gives us an excellent opportunity to talk about how this works through the StreamYard platform that is hosting this. And Daryl, I hate to keep muting you, but there's something in the background that we hear whenever you're not muted. So
I'll try to keep it muted. I'm at our round table.
Right. Okay. I'm not going to suggest that you go tell them all to be quiet, that this is one because that would be rude. And we're nice, we're kind, we're all the things that good scouts and scout leaders should be. So we're not even going to suggest that you make them be quiet. We'll just
I will also move the laptop so it doesn't show this background.
Yes. You've been there before. We know what's going on here. So if you are coming in through Facebook, we'd love to have you comment. And just so you don't show up as Facebook user, if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, is that what it is? I think that's what it is. Maybe it's StreamYard. No, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and then give it permission to show your real name. And then we will see, just like Gary Decker, who is also here. Not only is Gizzard Gary here, Gary Decker is here. It's amazing. So welcome. We appreciate everyone here. And let me get rid of Gary's comment. So we'll give a little time for people to show up. I see some people are filtering in here, most of which are coming through the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook. Look at that. He can be trained, folks. I knew it was possible. That's awesome. Greg, thank you so much for doing that. It does make it a lot easier on our end to keep track of who's asking questions. Gizzard Gary with the alter ego. Gary, you're going to be, I don't want to say you're going to be disappointed. I know Gary from other stuff. This chat is our monthly chat for the Philmont Trek Talk and Other Words Facebook group. And generally what you're going to find here are adult scout leaders who are prepping to take a group of scouts on a big backpacking trip in one of the coming summers, like Facebook user who is with Troop 3 and Iowa's oldest. Excellent. So everyone can see. If you don't go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you will be referred to as Facebook user. You will lose your identity. But you won't if you go log in because they're trustworthy as far as we know. So anyhow, thank you everyone for being here. Let me get rid of this comment so we can go around the panel. And we're going to go this way and then down and then over. So, and I'll wrap it up. So Scott, go ahead.
Awesome. Yes, I'm Scott O'Mary. I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 259 in Plano, Texas. I have been Scoutmaster there for 6 years. I've been on numerous high adventure treks, been to Philmont both as a summertime trekker as well as a winter adventure trek. And yes, I am wearing a puffy jacket. That is not the topic of our talk tonight. But when it gets down to the 50s in Texas, it gets cold for us Texans. So I pulled out my Philmont puffy jacket that I wore, packs down nicely. Not the topic tonight, but it's appropriate for tonight. So I'll bounce it over to Rob.
All right. I was wearing my puffy jacket today working, so but not tonight in the house. So my name is Rob Smith, and I am the current committee chair for Troop 85 in O'Fallon, Illinois. And I took a Philmont crew in 2021. It was our third try, and we finally made it. So I do also run a website called highadventurescouting.com, and it's really geared to give scout leaders, national council, and independent high adventure trips and opportunities and those kind of things. So, and it looks like Daryl's gone. So,
Wow. Ask him to keep it down, and he says, "I'm out of here."
had it.
Okay. Yeah, he may come back, he may not. This is a recurring theme with Daryl where he cares so much that he tries to join even when he's like at the back of a restaurant, trying to be quiet and do his part to be there at the, oh, wow, Gary was a scout leader too. And do his part, even though he can't be sitting at home where we'd probably prefer everyone is when they log in. Good evening to you, Chris. It's good to see you. We went around the room. Daryl, should he come back? Daryl is the most experienced Philmont trekker that I think I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to oversell him here, but between going on treks and organizing treks for his council, he's approaching 30. So he knows a lot about Philmont. That's why we like to have him here. That's why he keeps trying to get back in. And
maybe he's telling the round table to be quiet right now.
Yeah. I was going to offer, did Daryl just pick up the computer, walk it in, put it in front of them? I'll tell him. It's okay. You don't have to. I'll be the heavy. I'll do that because I care about this group and get the message out. So on the other screen here, that's why I keep looking off to the side. That's where my notes are. What we're going to cover tonight, according to our agenda, as published in the description of this video, we're going to have a preview of the official broadcast by Philmont on November 17th, which is about Philmont crew and personal gear. I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to say, go check out last month's video where Scott and I don't recall if some other people joined us for that one or not. I think someone did. And we
Andy
talked
was there
about
with us
Philmont
last
gear.
time.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I was out.
Yep. So we've already talked about Philmont gear. We may touch base on a couple things. Who knows what will come up in the course of this discussion. We're 8 minutes in. We've already been all over the place. So we're going to try to stay focused moving forward. So we will touch on that Philmont discussion, which I think we already did right now. Then agenda item number 2, we checked the first one off the list. Okay, number 2, Philmont 2021 recap. And then we'll talk about gear and gift suggestions. That's one that I really want to talk about. And then key dates, if any of us have prepared any key dates to talk about. And then the third agenda item, because we are overachievers here, we're to talk about physical and crew preparation. We'll talk about any gear questions that people have. And then also a quick note about trek openings that we'll talk about there. So before I prematurely, I jumped the gun and I said, we're done with item number 1, which is talking about the official Philmont videos. Would one of you like to tell people what I'm even talking about there? Like explain to them when I'm talking about the official Philmont videos. We do this monthly video for our Facebook group. What other official video am I referring to?
You are referring to the Philmont sponsored monthly seminars that the staff at Philmont in Cimarron put on every month to get crews prepared for their treks. They are talking pretty high level, mostly things like check-in, cooking in the backcountry, very, very high level type of items. It's not a Q&A like this one is, where you can post questions and the panelist here will make up an answer for you. But and they have a pretty good program, much more high quality than my background here for those who are watching.
Yeah,
What did I miss, Rob?
they're all professional like when they do it.
Yeah, they refer to them as their monthly preparedness, Philmont preparedness seminars.
Indeed, they do, and they're really good. So, at no point do I want you to get the impression that we're saying, "Come check out ours. Don't go to theirs." I think the more information you get, the better off you're going to be. You may even find some conflicting information. Like, for example, they're going to give you very specific information on how to cook at Philmont. I'm going to tell you something different. I recommend.
We're going there. I love it.
They will argue with one another like we will.
Yeah, well,
I followed his advice and it worked last time. It was great.
There you go. Yeah. So my recommendation is before you hit the trail, try to understand everything about all your different options, what you can do, what you can't do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what things you can kind of wing, what things you really need to do exactly the way they tell you to. We're going to help you figure out some of the differentiation there. But definitely go watch every one of their videos. They will have opportunities for you to ask questions, not the way we do. You ask a question, we're going to put it on the screen. We're going to talk about it. We're going to answer it. It can be specific to you. They want high level questions about big things. They don't want to get into they don't want to go down rat holes. I live in rat holes. So you all have to keep me on track. So that is the official. That's November 17th. If you want to watch those videos, I'm sure if you go to philmontscoutranch.org, their website, they're going to have some links there. If you check out their Facebook page, the official Philmont Scout Ranch Facebook, they're going to have links there. Please watch them. Please bring us your questions afterwards. Like, hey, they said this, it didn't make sense. Bring it to the group. Post it. It happens every time. All of us here will answer if we can. Other people in the group will answer. The point is we want to be sure everything's answered. We will get the same questions this year that we got last year, that we got the year before. We're going to answer them, okay? Because that's why we come and the reason we're there. So I'm distracted myself looking off the screen at the agenda. So
and Jeff, we've been doing this almost a year as well. So we have an archive of those videos that folks can go back out and check out various topics as well.
Yeah, and shameless plug here. This broadcast is sponsored by Gear-Report.com, which happens to be the publication that I run. Rob has his publication. I highly recommend you go check that out. Wouldn't hurt my feelings if you went to Gear Report as well. Over by Scott's head, you'll see the Gear Report logo, Gear-Report.com. On there, you'll see a Philmont section where many of these, thank you guys, where many of these are archived. There are a bunch of articles and things there too. Some written by me, some written by Scott, some written by other people. So we got lots of content there, as well as you can find information in the Facebook group. So it is an embarrassment of riches when it comes to information and opinions and places where you can get help getting ready for Philmont. That's our goal, is for you to have the absolute best trek possible, and your scouts as well, and their parents. We want to keep them happy through this whole process, or at least keep them placated so they stay off of your back, because that's important, and you having a good trek. So let's see. Agenda item number 2, Philmont 2021 recap, and then we'll talk about gear, gift suggestions, and key dates. So the recap, who went this year to, and Daryl can kind of half put his hand up because he was there. He didn't spend a lot of time on the trail, but I saw him. And if you watched my gear shakedown video or post-trek gear videos, in the second one, you'll see Daryl, that dude right there, drinking out of his chocolate syrup bottle, his Philmont water bottle. So we have proof positive he was there. There was a picture, I think, in the other video of Rob and I hanging out in the crew advisors lounge.
And I didn't even see it. I was there though, so I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. So we got some people who were there. Recap. Daryl, you were the mastermind behind this agenda. What did you have in mind for this recap?
Well, it would be kind of a recap. Can everybody hear me? Nod your heads. Okay, because I'm having some trouble with the internet here, and hopefully that background noise isn't too badly. But it was just kind of a recap of what Philmont did on their preparedness seminar in early October. They reviewed it, where they were, and some of the things that they saw, myths that kind of came out, and where they're going to go for next year. On a recap, if you don't mind, I'll delve into some of the items.
Please.
As long as we're on the subject. Right around 25,000 people came through Philmont. An amazing number, the highest one they've had in a number of years. The COVID thing worked very well. Obviously they had some issues with 26,000 people. It's not going to be perfect. They dealt with them expeditiously and kept everybody safe. It wasn't the smoothest operation that we have seen in previous years, but they did what they could, and they their bottom line goal was almost whatever it takes. We're going to have Philmont open so people can come, and they had to do that for a lot of reasons, and they had to comply with a lot of state, local, and federal guidelines to get there. But some of the things that came out were from that video and the recap. Next year in 2022, they will be back to two people, wilderness first aid and CPR trained, and they're going to hold real tight to that because I think we can all kind of agree this COVID thing really isn't going to go away. You're doing an injustice to your team, your crew, and everybody else if you don't have the trained advisors in these. In the medical issues. So that's going to be a thing, and I would encourage, from what I hear, there's still not a great number of classes out there to get this training. So, those who are listening, sign up for those training courses as early as you can. There you could be in a situation. I mean, if you come to Philmont without being trained, you're putting everybody at risk. And the tough thing would be is if Philmont said you can't come. And that's for everybody's health and safety and your crew. One of the new things they're adding, there's 4 items on the medical form that they are going to require for vaccinations. At least not documentation, but at least identify when you had, I'll use the term, the childhood shots, rubella, measles, that kind of thing. They're going to want to know when you had them. Now, there are some exceptions where they, if you were born before 1970 or something like that, you don't have to identify. From what I understand, there's not going to be documentation required, but you need to identify that just like you identify tetanus right now. The other thing is, oh man, I'm kind of losing it here. The itineraries for this coming year. There's not going to be a wholesale change for the itineraries. They're going to continue with the north to south.
Interesting.
Concept, probably pretty or limited like it was this year. I think they only had 2 treks going each way, so a total of 4, and very controlled. They're going to continue with that. The itinerary, what do you call it? The itinerary guidebook, probably will be issued sometime the first half of December. Middle December, the lottery will open and will close probably first or second week in January. And that's when you will submit through the gateway your choices. So if you have access and go to the Philmont webpage, you could look at the 21 itineraries and probably get a pretty good idea of what the itineraries will be for 22, because there's not going to be a major change. I've not been able to find it, but I've heard that the Council and Unit Planning Guide is online. I wasn't able to find it today when I went looking, but if it's not there, it will be very shortly, along with the guidebook to adventure, the small little handbook. The target, from what I hear, is the end of the year, end of December, to have that available. And one of the things that came out of that video, or their preparedness seminar, a very, very high percentage of the questions that Philmont gets and issues they have are there in the publications, the Council and Planning Guide, the Guidebook to Adventure. I'm as guilty as anybody. You never read the directions, but the answers are there, along with tenting and who can sleep with who and how they're going to administer that. They are going down the line of exactly what the Boy Scouts Guide to Safe Scouting dictates. It's there.
Daryl, if people read that, we wouldn't need the Philmont Trek Talk Facebook page.
Oh, you would.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but and without being, read the directions, read the books, read the literature they put out there. They spend a lot of time putting that stuff together. The other thing they mentioned, I was coming back to on the medical, there is no automatic 20-pound exemption. If you have an issue with the height and weight chart, and you can't lose weight, grow 3 inches. So it isn't a weight issue; it becomes a height issue. But they are going to be holding. They're going to be holding tight to that. There is no automatic exemption. It's a myth. It doesn't happen. And again, you're putting yourself and your crew at risk if you're not in physical shape. And I know we'll talk a lot about preparedness and getting in shape, and so forth.
Yeah. Don't jump the gun. We're going to get into that in a bit.
Right. I'm just saying, they're going to administer it, and they're going to administer it tight, and they invited some people to depart the ranch and go home. And that's an embarrassing and a tough situation for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Daryl, I want to swing back to your comment about wilderness first aid again.
Right. Sure.
Just from a personal experience, our council puts on a big wilderness first aid training event during winter camp. That's 2 months away. That course is already booked solid with the waiting list. So don't wait.
I think a lot of people are going to find that. And if you think, I'll just get it in the spring, you're going to find out that you're out of options. And I'm hoping something I heard them talk about last year, I don't know if they're actually going to do it or not, is offering wilderness first aid at the training center. So maybe if you've run out of other options, you get there a few days early and take it there. Yeah. So
I'm not sure about the training center, but the other thing they're offering in early January or March and April, I think it is they're bringing back the PASS program, the Philmont Advisors outdoor session. You spend a weekend, and if you spend a couple of days extra, you can get wilderness first aid and CPR training there.
Nice.
The other thing for 2023. 2 years away, the lottery is currently open for selection. That will close on December 1st at 10 a.m. So if you're thinking for 23, you need to get into that lottery and so forth. I think that's about it from what the recap of that was. I do not know as far as the itineraries. I want to ask them the question: is the trek selector where you put in the various the various elements you want to do while you're on trek, and it kind of picks your, gives you the 5 or 6 or 7 treks that fulfill the requirements that you want. There's a bunch of them out there. The only one I'm going to really plug would be the Philmont one. you know, and say it's there. It's fairly basic, but it's very good too. So that's kind of the recap from what I came away from that video, and the recap for 21.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. We really appreciate that. And let's see, I was about to mention Sal. And if you want to go to Tampa and check out suncoastwfa.com, I think you can see his course availability as a wilderness first aid in
January.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone picks me up as a what am I called? A free agent, a Philmont crew advisor, free agent. If anyone picks me up, I'm gonna have to go down and see Sal.
No, I think it was Nutty Cluster, I think is what we decided.
I stopped trying to keep track of all the things that I've been called. So it's a losing battle. I don't even try to fight it anymore.
Be a long list.
Oh man, the long but distinguished, kind of creative at times too. So, I own it. Okay, so we're going to move into a brief mention of gear. I think we'll talk about gear briefly, just to mention, go check out our discussion from last month if you want to get more about gear. Let me see something real quick. I'm trying to do something in the background. Bear with me. Yep, Sal, you got music playing in the background, so I muted you again. If you can kill the music, his wife's going to be so upset. Her music's going to go off. We'll have to keep it muted so we don't hear the fight in the background. But,
may have to shut down the video too.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind for this going viral. That would be kind of interesting.
So
So
I think last month we talked mostly about personal gear, did we not?
We did. I do want to talk about crew gear, and I want to point people to a couple resources real quick. Again, shameless plug. I've written a rather exhaustive article on Philmont gear that talks about pretty much everything Philmont gear related. If you want to see what my recommendations are, as well as some links to make it easy so you can go get stuff should you want to purchase it, you will find that on Gear-Report.com. It's our best budget backpacking gear for Philmont article. So there, I will continue making shameless plugs throughout this broadcast because I'm shameless. So, truth in advertising, right? Philmont also has a list of stuff for both individuals and for crews. Where could someone find that list?
Guidebook to Adventure, the small book, currently online, the 21 version. The gear list for 21 to 22 isn't going to change much, but that would be a resource. Download it, print it out as you need it for your crew. The Guidebook to Adventure.
I think that that gear list hasn't changed much in about 20 years. So and that's why other lists. Hey, look at that! That's why other lists.
I had one.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's an unused one, so I only had 8 in my crew. So
yeah. So the list that's in there has got a personal equipment section, and it's got and there's PDF versions. Plus, before you go on a trek, you get several months in advance. Equipment provided by the crew and equipment provided by Philmont are also listed in there. So it'll help you wrap your head around kind of the high level look at what you need to take. So here's where things get interactive. Okay, we've been drawing for almost a half hour. Now we're going to actively ask for all the Facebook users and other people whose names we know to submit questions. Talking about crew gear, what questions do you have? That's the most important thing. We have plenty of things we can talk about, but if you have specific questions, go ahead and put them in no matter what platform you're on. Whether it's one of the Facebook pages or watching on YouTube for the Gear Report channel. Any of those places you can leave comments. They're going to show up on the back end here in StreamYard, so we can all see them, and we'll answer those. High level, man, we have so much experience on this panel. Crew gear, like high level philosophy. Do you have kind of a way that you approach crew gear that you would like to share with people before we dig into any of the specifics?
Yeah, and I would say we try to keep it to crew gear, maybe,
Oh, yeah.
and then move into the subject of personal gear, and maybe even with crew gear, we might even say what Philmont offers.
Sure. Okay.
I guess I'll kick off on this.
In
I guess
case
part
you
of
were
this.
wondering, hey, real quick, in case you're wondering, it has changed in 20 years. There's a book. There's the book from the 50s. It's changed, just to let you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
And you were there, right, Sal?
No, I'm not that old yet. I'm close, but there's the guidebook for adventure from 1957.
Nice.
So it has changed. We don't carry some of these things anymore, just to let you know. I should scan this and give it to Jeff. He'd have a field day with it.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we leave the Dutch ovens at home now. Okay.
Yeah, you have to take pajamas, and this one says you need to take pajamas.
Yeah.
So
So it's crew gear. Crew gear
Okay.
this month.
I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Right.
Well, I guess I'll start off from a philosophy of crew gear. And a lot of people are starting to do, or maybe they've already done some shakedown hikes at this point, is try to mimic some of the gear that I would expect Philmont to provide. So, for example, the bear lines. I had to go out and make sure that I went to Home Depot, for example, and just picked up 100 feet of nylon rope so the scouts could practice throwing bear lines, for example. Hopefully that's not too controversial piece of equipment to purchase, so I went ahead and purchased that on my own, kind of thing. Things like a dining fly. I went ahead and purchased that type of item online to have the scouts practice setting it up with some trekking poles and some paracord and some tent stakes. Just the basics from a crew gear standpoint for the shakedown hikes.
Yeah.
When you
So
get to snows, that's a whole other controversial topic.
Are you gonna use that dining fly, or is it just for shakedowns, or are you going to take the Philmont Thunder Ridge shelter?
Good question. We left the dining fly that we purchased back home, and we used Philmont's. Same with our bear lines. We kept our bear lines back home. We used Philmont's bear lines.
Yeah, we did just the opposite with the fly. Our guys decided they were comfortable with their fly, so they took that. So and we left the Philmont poles too.
Yeah, we didn't use theirs either.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
uses
I don't know that I saw anyone using them or carrying them or anything. I don't want my fly to be open to the public here. I hear that's frowned upon, but I'll just give you a peek. This one has been on 2 treks, and I am a proponent of whenever there is a big difference in the size and weight and utility of items that you can get on your own and bring versus what Philmont offers for you to take as baked into the price, then really consider, does it make sense if the resources are available to take something for your crew and not use what Philmont offers? With this specific piece of equipment, the first time I carried this, I think that they still had like 8-pound rain flies, but they're listed as 2.5 pounds now. And I haven't actually weighed one, but I think that's probably, 2.5, 3 pounds, what they are. That's in the neighborhood of what mine weighs. So when I'm looking at stuff to purchase, like, one of our later discussion points is going to be gift ideas, and we can take that a couple directions, but one is we got holidays coming up and people are going to be asking for things. So I think we naturally think personal gear when we think about, hey, asking people, putting on a Christmas list, for example, here's some things I could use, or, hey, for my birthday in the spring, get me something for Philmont. Maybe a rain fly would be low on the list for me, because what they have, it's going to be fine, I think. If you can get something a whole lot lighter that's big enough, maybe, but yeah, low priority item for me.
So Jeff, I'm assuming that your travel is a consideration on what you're bringing with you as well. If you're flying, you might not want to bring a lot of your own personal stuff.
Well, that was a big deal. Talking about crew gear, do you bring tents? Show of hands. Do you bring your own tents? You use Philmont tents, own tents.
Depending.
I would this time.
Yeah.
Next time, yes.
I think I would next time
I'm
too.
gonna put halfway up.
I recommend that everybody uses Philmont tents unless you have an odd number or you have like a female or you can't share tents. Everybody uses Philmont tents. The adults, I give them the option, but scouts do not get the option. They are using Philmont tents. And my theory behind that is if it's a contingent or it's a scout, you do not know how clean that tent is. Did that scout have a camp out and he had food in that tent? If he did, guess what he might have at Philmont? He might have a visitor. Do we want to fill out that paperwork and say little Johnny got visited by a bear at night? I don't want to go through that. I don't want to fill that paperwork out. So we're using Philmont tents. That's not a discussion point.
And to that point, is the background noise better? I moved locations within the building.
Nice.
Okay, good. To that point, as you come off the trail, you are required, if you're using Philmont tents, to wash them out. So you got a very strong chance of getting a relatively clean, tent. I'd like to come back to Scott's comment about bear ropes, and I'm a proponent also of using Philmonts. Should you decide to use your own and bring it, one of the things that situation that Philmont has seen is a lot of crews bring some of these hiking ropes, high strength and so forth, and they think they're saving some weight, and they're also going to lesser diameter. Lesser diameter ropes, under the stress that they're using, does do damage to trees, and they're also much harder on your hands to pull on, because they tend to cut into your hand because of the smaller diameter. So I'm not sure what the diameter of the Philmont rope is. It's got to be quarter inch or so.
It's quarter.
Yeah,
That one right here.
right. That and you can get a good grip on it. You don't want anything like paracord where you got to pull 100 pounds, with paracord up. It just will tear up your hands in the trees. So
I'm not sure I see any benefit of bringing your own rope. That seems like why bother? Tents we can argue about, but the rope, why?
Yeah,
bother?
ropes.
And,
I have my own ropes to practice with. I have my own dining fly that I bring with us because, again, it's like Jeff's. It's been around. It's lightweight. I think it's even lighter than Philmont's.
Yeah.
So we'll do that.
And there's always the argument, well, this is what we practiced with. So now we go to Philmont and we use something different, and now we got to learn a new method or how to set up a tent. I know that argument's there, but like a lot of us have said, I really kind of lean to, using what Philmont's offering you. And should there be a problem, they're ready and willing and got equipment in the backcountry to make repairs or give you new gear. If you're bringing your own, you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, I'm going to be the dissenter on that one and say that this June. So I was there for a June trek that started mid-month and went through the end of the month, and the first half of our trek was normal. We were mostly dry, a little spritz here and there. And then the bottom fell out and we had the second half of our trek. We didn't dry out. It was wet the whole time. Lots of rain. It was like monsoon season, only instead of that hour shower in the afternoon and then it's gone, it was like a day of that, followed by another day of that, followed by a half a day, and then cloud cover. And it was It was like that for a while. And reports that I saw, we had in the crew that I traveled with this past summer, my first foray into being a freelance crew advisor. I went with a troop that was going to take their own troop tents, and we got to talking about it. And as Scott said, for travel, a consideration is, do you want to haul them back and forth? And the weight of their tents, everything about their tents was very similar to the Philmont tents. They said, you know what, we'll just use theirs. Then we don't have to haul them back and forth. And it made it a whole lot easier. So none of our folks had any issues with their Philmont issued tents. But man, the reports, if you go back to our group and scroll through, you will see people talking about, I think I remember yours, Rob.
All four of them leaked the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. All four of them.
Yep.
And I know Sal didn't have any problems. So
Yeah, we didn't have any problem with ours. So
yeah.
And we were.
I didn't have any trouble with my accommodations.
Right.
You know, the thing about bringing your own tent is it's a very expensive substitution to purchase a tent, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What is a much less expensive substitution is substituting the Philmont issued sandpaper toilet paper with bringing my own accommodations.
Oh my goodness. You didn't just say that, did you?
I did. Yes.
And you know, part of the poop talk that they start out every trek with says you are prohibited from bringing any other kind of toilet paper because we know that what we provide is quickly biodegradable and won't mess up our pit toilets.
I'm even willing to pack it out. I will do that.
Okay. So since we went there,
Yes.
I'm going to show you something that just came in the mail that I haven't even had a chance to take out of the package yet. All right.
You
I'll
get
pull
so
one
much
out
stuff
here.
sent to you that you didn't have time. I know.
Oh, I know. I'm going to show you what it is here. A
Portable bidet. Okay.
Okay. It is apparently it's a friction fit that goes in a water bottle, and it has these O-rings to seal it so it doesn't screw in or anything. And I guess you just give a little squeeze and it gives you a spritz, and you don't even have to have toilet paper. So, and apparently the issue where you're not supposed to, urine is not supposed to go in the pit toilets, in the red roof ends or anything, because the pH, it messes up how things biodegrade. But that's not an issue with water. Water is, hopefully a neutral pH that doesn't cause any of those issues. So in theory, a portable bidet is an acceptable option. And I got to get a hold of the Scott that I trekked with this summer. He went back for a second trek. He couldn't get enough. He did a trek with me, and that wasn't enough to turn him off on Philmont completely. He went back 3-4 weeks later and went on another trek with his other son, similar to Rob's situation, scheduled earlier, got, fire or COVID rescheduled him. So he ended up with 2 treks in one summer. He carried the bidet on the second trek, and I never heard from him whether it worked or not. But there's an option if you're have sensitive areas.
I'm thinking a bidet is more of a personal gear and not a crew gear.
It could be. It could be.
It's not a group activity.
It's not a group activity, but multiple people could use it. If you're using it properly, it doesn't touch anything that would be a problem. Who knows how people use them?
I'm going to go.
Bring up
I'm
the
going
guide
to go
to
over.
safe scouting. Is that
I'm going to go over the hill here. How about if you just use that in a water bottle for drinking?
You could. I've seen people do crazier things with water bottles, Daryl. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Okay, so the question, to bring us back on track, Greg asked, what gear would you purchase and bring with you instead of using Philmont gear? We kind of went off track a bit. So we've talked about the dine and fly. We talked about tents. We talked about toilet paper. Yep. What else does Philmont provide that you can use?
Cooking gear.
Pots,
Pots, pans, utensils.
nesting pots. Yes, that would be good.
I just shudder all over even thinking about this. But I'll let someone else lead this part of the discussion.
Oh,
Okay.
nobody's stepping up here.
Oh,
huh?
I'll
Okay.
I'll step
Okay.
up. I'll
too,
step up.
whenever
I'll
Sal gets
step up. We use Philmont pots. Simple as that. Do we have a problem with them? No. If you use them correctly, they'll fit in your sleeping inside your pack with no problem. We don't hang them on the back. We stuff them in, and the gear goes inside. Philmont Utensils. Years ago, they used to give you plastic ones, and they would not hold up. They would melt in the hot water. Now they went back to metal, which is okay. But we used to bring our own. But we use Philmont pots, Philmont Utensils. I haven't had any issues with them. We take the one. The only thing we don't use that Philmont gives, we don't use the pliers that they give us. They usually give
hot
puddle
pounds.
Yeah, because we leave those, and somebody has a Leatherman just as good. So something else we don't have to carry. But we use them. We have no problems with them. I mean, none of my crews complained about them, and we practice with them. I mean, I don't know if you guys know that. No, Philmont has the prep weekend thing for the advisors to go.
Yeah, that's that pass.
Yeah, the pass. Well, we do our own for our council.
Nice.
We do our Philmont Skills Weekend for all our crews that are going in January, and we basically run them through whatever the ranger is going to teach them and tell them to practice this. We even make a sump. We put a sump out there. We eat Philmont style food Saturday all day. We do a 5-mile hike. So when we tell them practice all this stuff while you're doing your training for the rest of the time, and it works.
Nice.
Speaking of that, I recall in the Philmont Preparedness Seminar, they said there is still some surplus food from 21 that's available for order. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sure there's just a limited amount.
Well,
but you can still order food to practice with.
Yeah, but I checked Tooth of Time Traders, and I called them. They said Tooth of Time Traders, whoever I talked to, said only thing that's left is cases, no bags. Right. No bags are left. And by the time you buy shipping for a case of cookies from New Mexico to Tampa, forget it. I'll go to Costco. It's cheaper.
I'm guessing there's several cases of Mexican beans and rice.
No, I didn't see any. I didn't see any freeze dried.
Really?
No freeze dried food is available. Wow. Everything else is the other junk, the cookies and all that junk like that. So,
the thing that we haven't said, which I know is going to go, to the gentleman in the upper left hand corner, he assuming using Philmont pots, you're going to be into the one pot cooking method. As opposed to, there's the whole discussion about rehydrating the food in the food pouches. But the recommendation.
You can
do that? You're looking good, Jeff. You're right. Yeah.
Well, there's two things before you get on this. Jeff on his bandwagon here is. You're going to be with your ranger for the first day or two, and you're going to need to use the 2-pot method regardless during that period of time.
So if you're going to, do it for a couple of days, it's not that much more difficult. It's been a tried and true proven method for Philmont over the years. It's not that difficult. And when we talk about cooking, it's a misnomer. You're not really cooking it. You're rehydrating the food. It's just not that difficult to do.
Right.
Well, I'll jump in real quick before Jeff gets on his. But we had kind of an in between. We did not use our crew decided not to use the Philmont pots, but only the big ones. We had a nesting set which seems like Philmont could do something similar to save space, but it worked really well. We had a small crew of 8, so maybe that was the difference. But we have that as part of our troop stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm good. I'll go ahead and be the dissenter here. I do appreciate Rob's support on this. But so here's the deal. I've done it both ways. I have done treks using the Philmont method exclusively. I've done treks using a hybrid method as well, and they both work. So let's get that out of the way first. Sal is right. It works. Daryl is right. It is a tried and true method. I don't believe it's the most efficient method. I believe it has some issues that make it less safe and it frankly waste a lot of time. And as much time and effort and money as you spend getting to the back country, I'd rather use the time more efficiently and get more out of the back country. If I want to cook, I can cook at home, So if I can do it more efficiently in the back country, then I'm all for that, as long as it is not unsafe and doesn't cause any other issues. To that end, I don't want to dive too deep into it right now, but I will say if you go to Gear-Report.com or if you search the interwebs for best alternative Philmont cooking method, you will find this article. You can read my thoughts in detail. You're welcome to leave comments. You're welcome. We can discuss it, whatever. It's something I have offered to discuss with the folks at Philmont, and I've actually had some interest from them in having that discussion because they haven't updated their recommendations and processes in this regard for a couple decades, and they're looking to do that here shortly. So do we have someone else trying to get in? No, he's already done. All right. So anyhow, I'm going to get off of that particular topic for now, but I reserve the right to mute everyone and talk about it later if I so choose. Although I probably won't. So let's see. But I do want to talk about, since we're talking about crew gear, the crew gear in some cases, like cooking, is dependent on what cooking process you're going to use. So how you do things is going to influence what kind of gear you need to take. If you are going to use that hybrid method, you know what? If you care to go watch me talk in more detail about this, I have a couple post-trek videos up on YouTube on the Gear Report channel from what we did this past summer in June on the trek. And something that we had incredible success with was using a heat exchanger pot. It's a 1 liter pot with the fins on the bottom that really helps, and has a lid on top, and it has much less surface area on the outside to radiate heat away. And the lid holds some heat in. The heat exchanger stuff on the bottom helps the heat get in. It boils water significantly faster with less fuel. And, I think that every crew should have at least one. If you want to carry one of the 4 liter, the medium sized Philmont pot, do it. Do whatever you want. It's your crew. But I'm going to go against what Sal says. Sal's a dictator for everyone who goes with him. I have a reputation for having strong opinions on this. But
So do I.
guess what? I told them what I told them this summer. I told everyone, here's what makes sense to me. Here's what I think is the best way to do it. They talked it out and said, nope, we're going to do it the Philmont way. And I said, you know what? Cool. That's fine. Although we did, when we got on the trail, we had a couple situations where we were pushing and we're running behind. And I made a suggestion. Well, why don't you just try this? Here, use my 1 liter pot. Try this. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Why haven't we been doing this the whole time? I said, well, so research the methods, make your decision, do what you're comfortable with. That's what I'm going to say. If you're going to use a Philmont method, you need sturdy stoves. Do you guys have recommendations on what stove you think? If someone is going to go buy, Philmont doesn't provide stoves at all. You got a lot of options on pots and cookware and that kind of stuff, but you got to bring your own stove. What should they bring?
MSR Whisper Lights.
Yep.
That's what we use. Just to let you know, Jeff, I am not a dictator. Out of 6 crews, we had 1 crew opted to use your method, and I was fine with that. So I don't force them. They can do any method they want to. My crew is doing my method, which is the Philmont style.
I will second Sal's Whisper Light recommendation.
Whisper
However, we also, because we had a full 12-person crew, the adults brought a little Jetboil just for coffee only. at all.
Jetboil is for coffee and hot chocolate.
Our crew decided to use a Jetboil for everything, and we only had 8, so we didn't have a huge crew. But we did not bring our whisper lights. It was their decision. They used about 6 different stoves, and they decided to go isobutane. And for our crew, it worked great. So it just depends on. It was kind of their decision. So it worked pretty good for us. So.
My recommendation is isobutane. I particularly like the Optimus Vega. Good footprint, so forth. You got and the reasoning there is, personally, I think it's a lot safer. I think it's a lot more eco-friendly in the backcountry. You don't have the chance of spilling white gas and the issues that go along with that. You screw on the canister and, you're done. You do have the ability to leave the canisters at Philmont or at the staff camps, commissaries where they pick up trash. And that's my feeling. Again, isobutane and the Optimus Vega is my stove of choice.
Yeah, I'll second both of those. If you'd like to see a more robust discussion on this specific topic, on Gear Report, we have white gas versus canister stoves for Philmont, an article that dives into pros and cons of each type and gives my personal recommendations, as well as recommendations gathered from a variety of people in the Philmont Trek Talk Prep News and Info group. Popular. Let's see. We have the Soto Windmaster, Soto Amicus, Covia, Suppolite Titanium. Some of these I think are smaller ones. MSR Reactor has gotten really good reviews from a lot of people for a while. Optimus Vega, absolutely. Covia Spider. MSR has the Wind Pro, which can be very useful with the additional windscreen built into it. I honestly, this past trip, we took some like $25, $30. Someone's got some loud discussion going on in the background here. Okay, good. We took some kind of generic stoves that I got off Amazon for like $25, $30. And let's see if we can get back to the screen. Here we go. Little isobutane stoves that fold up. What I'm going to say here, anything you want to kind of go away from a name brand and try, don't try it on your Trek. Try it on your shakedowns. Try it before the shakedowns, But, we took a couple different stoves. We used isobutane. It worked absolutely fantastic. All the rumors you hear about, you can't use it at altitude or when it's cold, none of that applies to Philmont. You're not going to be at an altitude or a temperature where they're going to have issues there.
Yeah, where you're going to get those negative effects or whatever. So, but yeah, and the point well taken. Whatever stove you decide to use, practice with it. That's why they call it Shakedown.
Yeah. So I know white gas is widely available in the backcountry. Is the same with the isobutane?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, there's only about 3 camps in the South that had isobutane. So I look on the in logistics, it'll tell you which ones have it. Mm-hmm. We took an extra canister just so we didn't run into problems.
Yeah.
And
well, according to Philmont, wherever fuel is available, you should. They say they will have both kinds. They'll have white gas and isobutane. Any of the commissaries have it. And in a real emergency, I do know that there's a stash of both white gas and canisters at staff camps. They recognize that, things happen, and the last thing you want is a stove with no fuel and can't make your evening meal.
Yeah. So speaking of stove problems, how many of you carried one and only one stove per crew? No. Good. Okay. 2.
Two.
Anyone carried just two? Okay, two.
We-
We had two primary, and I had a little BRS 3000 as an
I
emergency
had one of those
backup.
too. Yeah.
It was 14 grams. I hated to carry it. But
The
It's this big.
the crews in our contingent, they carried one stove, the primary stove, and then they carried the really small one that they would like cook coffee on or whatever as their backup in case of emergency. Yeah, you had to be careful and you know what you were doing, but you could use that small can top stove in an emergency.
So I hear a lot of advisors talk about we take a Jetboil and we only use it for coffee, and I don't understand that. And I also don't understand the people who they say, well, we have two, but one's primary and one's a backup, so we only use one at a time. I am a big fan of, I don't want to sit for 30 minutes and wait for water to boil. Let's run two. If we need X amount of water, say you need 4 liters of water for dinner, 2 in each pot, run them both. And then you get done quicker. And then you can do more fun backcountry stuff and less sitting watching water boil. So there's a tip for me. Go ahead and run them concurrently and you'll be done faster. I've been digging through my box here trying to find it. I wanted to show you guys if no one's familiar with it. The BRS 3000. This thing's massive. And I really can't believe I
awesome.
carried it all by my little lonesome. This little backup stove that I had. It's like a little baby. Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you guys who don't use MSR light, the white gas. What's gonna happen? How many Jetboils do you take with you? One?
I think you're saying if you don't use white gas, you're using a canister stove.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what kind of
brand,
stove you take. I think that you should have 2 per crew. If it's a big crew, maybe have a third one as a spare, but it can be one of the lighter, like a pocket rocket or a BSR or something that's going to weigh an ounce or 2 and give you an emergency backup. But have 2 of your primary, especially if you're using the Philmont cooking method, you need something big and sturdy and robust that can hold the massive pot that they give you. If you're using one of the other methods where, like the, I didn't bring it over here, the heat exchanger pot that I have is 1 liter. You don't have to have a massive stove to hold that. But we want to avoid the type where you have your fuel canister and you screw it on top like a pocket rocket. We don't want to use that as a primary because it makes it too high where things can get knocked over too easily. We like the remote canister, regardless of what type it is, whether it's white gas or isobutane. Go for a remote canister stove if you're going to go buy something. Brings your center of gravity lower, which makes it less likely you're going to dump your water and burn someone.
Right. I think to Sal's question, using isobutane, our crews, we used only 1 stove at a time, but we went out of base camp with 2 of the larger, I think they're 8 ounce or 16, I don't know, the larger of the 2 canisters. Yeah. Went out with 2 of them, and 1 year they got by with that. And a couple other years they had to buy 1 of the smaller canisters. Mm-hmm. So it was two large canisters, basically made it through the whole trek.
Okay. Now my question is if you only take 1 Jetboil and no backup, it breaks, you're done.
Well, let's take Jetboil out. If you only take 1 stove and it fails, regardless if it's the magical Whisper Light or a Jetboil, whatever you take, if you only have 1, two is 1 is none, right? So
you need 2 stoves of some sort,
right,
in your pack.
But
so that if 1 fails, you can go to the other.
But a Whisper Light can be repaired in the field.
In theory, that is absolutely true. Depends on what breaks.
Correct. But whatever's going to break on a Whisper Light usually can be repaired in the field. If a the other kind of gas stove breaks in the field, it becomes a paperweight.
Yeah. So
Well,
I have an article that addresses this specifically. I don't want to spend the whole thing
Okay.
debating this.
Hey, I
What
know.
I'll tell you is last time I took a whisper light at Philmont, our backup stove that hadn't been used for a couple days, we said, you know what? Why don't you guys use both of them at the same time? First time the scout went to puppet, ripped the plunger out. That was broken, not repairable in the field. That was a paperweight the rest of the trip. That was a whisper light.
So what's next on the item? What's next?
Next.
We're deep in the weeds.
Yep.
Backpack size, a little bit further up. But
So backpack, we're not talking about personal gear specifically,
Right.
but as it relates to crew gear, you're going to have to carry a basketball size mound of Philmont food. So your pack needs to accommodate that. It needs to accommodate whatever portion of crew gear you need to carry. Some crews, so let's talk about crew dynamics. Hands up if your crews, if the adults carry part of crew gear, if they're treated just like the rest of the crew. Anyone? Yeah. I'll kind of put halfway.
Nope.
Comes down
as needed, as needed without being
So-
stupid about it.
So what I'm going to say, the word of caution I'm going to put out here, that I've seen this happen where adults get used to through being a scoutmaster for years and years, maybe get used to being the guy who has the backup for everyone. And the adults end up carrying twice as much weight as everyone else, but the adults are already old and out of shape. The adults are already not going to be able to keep up. The adults are already the most likely to get injured on the trail. And then they want to carry all the extra stuff. So they're packing their fears and the fears of everyone else in their crew. I'm going to say when it comes to pack size, don't buy a super huge pack with the idea that you're the adult and you have to carry all the stuff just in case.
Yeah.
If
Hey,
stuff
Rob.
has to be carried just in case, have the youth carry it, the stronger, faster ones, and maybe you have a chance of keeping up then.
Hey, Rob,
I will carry the
Guidebook to
first
Adventure. Can
aid
you
kit,
find that book?
just because I want to know where that is.
Yeah.
But that's about it from a crew gear perspective.
Yeah.
Who had the Guidebook to Adventure?
A couple of us. What do you need?
Yeah. In there, along with the gear, it says a recommended size for backpacks, both internal and
70
external.
liters or something like that.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Internal frame 75 liters. Holy smokes. Okay, well, so what we're
Just
gonna
because
do,
you got it doesn't mean you got to fill it.
that's right.
all right, so what I'm going to say for that, my thoughts on that are same as any backpacking trip, and that is your gear determines the size that you need. Philmont doesn't determine the size of backpack you need. What gear you're taking, what you're going to carry determines the size of the pack you need. There are people who may need an 85-liter pack, and I think those people are crazy. But there are people who love to carry the kitchen sink and the shower and everything with them, and they need a huge pack. There are people who carry
Chair.
and there are people who carry almost nothing, and they barely need a pack. Probably the sensible place is somewhere in the middle where you've got at least the minimum stuff you need to be safe out there, but aren't carrying any extra. In which case, it depends on the bulkiness of your gear. I mean, I can't give you a straight easy answer other than is 65 liters enough? Yeah. For me, it's a little big. For someone else, I don't know.
I would say directly to this question, I would say 65 liter is definitely, in the ballpark. A little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. Yeah, but you're pretty much right about there.
Yep.
Of course, then you get into the issue of internal or external.
Oh, that's not an issue anymore.
We're not going there.
Yeah.
I do like a little extra empty space in my pack in case somebody goes down. It's happened to me before, and I have to take some extra item that I wasn't planning on carrying.
Yep. That's a very good point. That's something that happened to me this summer. I was carrying I've carried a 60-liter ultralight pack the last 2 treks, and it has a pretty hard limit, about 35 to 40 pounds that you can carry comfortably with it. And I was absolutely wonderful, fine, until someone went down halfway through an 8-mile day. We have 4 miles. We had to divvy up all their stuff and carry it. And that put me well over the weight limit for that pack. And it was absolutely miserable. So it wasn't a pack volume. I had pack volume. It was the ability to carry a load. So those are 2 things you need to keep in mind is, do you have enough room to carry what you need to? And with a lot of internal frame packs, your pack may be full, but you got lashing straps all over it. And, someone's probably got a clothesline. You can strap stuff to it if you need to. I think internal volume is less important than the weight bearing capacity. And
Use this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a little scale.
Just use a scale. That doesn't matter how big the pack is. Just
Yeah.
it's within your weight limit. What you want.
Yeah.
So.
But also give yourself a little bit of room. Like I'm really on the fence. Like for the next trek, am I going to roll the dice again and carry the ultralight pack, knowing that if someone goes down and I have to carry more stuff, it's going to be miserable for that whole day? Or am I going to bump up to something that instead of weighing 21 ounces for the pack, that now weighs 4 pounds, but then I can carry more gear more comfortably if I need to? I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet. I think I have, actually. I think I'm just going to carry the ultralight pack again, but I don't recommend that. I don't really. So anyhow, interesting question here. Ryan Knight asks, is crew gear typically personal gear for crew members that someone volunteers to bring and share during the trek? Do troops provide it, or is it a combination? Typically, I think it is a combination, but how do you guys do it?
We've got a crew gear that we use for all backpacking. So we've kind of developed that over the years. So it's a troop thing, but other people may do it differently.
Yeah.
Well, I think most of your answer can come from, I hate to go back to it, the little book, Guidebook to Adventure. What does it list? You're gonna cover 95% of it. Now, if somebody, if you deem, something is going to be brought, and shared by everybody in the crew and used, yeah, you call that crew gear. If little Johnny wants a whole bunch of stuff just for himself, that's personal gear.
Mm-hmm. But for crew gear items, let's say the rainfly, if you don't want to use, and that's a terrible example because Philmont rainfly is actually pretty reasonable, I think. But let's say you want to bring your own. I think that could be someone's personal. That could be.
I would say it's crew gear.
It's crew gear.
It's an item.
Right.
I don't care who brings it or where it comes
No,
from.
but the question is who brings it, and I think it could be either. Like, interesting. The crew that I went with happened to have the exact same tarp that I have. Like, this is my personal tarp that has been used with 2 separate crews on different treks in different years, and it happened to be the exact same make, model, and brand that the troop that I went with this summer already had as troop gear. I had made some modifications to mine and added some additional tie-out points, so we took mine. But yeah, I mean, if you get someone like me who reviews gear for a living and has extras of everything, it is pretty easy. Just, oh yeah, Jeff will bring it. But otherwise, either the troops got to buy it or someone's got to bring it.
Yep. Yeah. If it's crew gear and it's your personal gear, you bring it. It now is crew gear, whether you bought it or not. It goes in the crew gear pile. I mean, I bring my own dining fly because it's lighter than Philmont's. Do I carry it? No, it becomes a crew gear. The crew carries it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's the item. What is it? It is the dining fly.
Correct.
Regardless of where you get it.
Sure.
Correct.
Now, similar to that, I'll be populating the first aid kit with maybe meds from my own personal medicine cabinet with ibuprofen and things like that. I'm considering that crew gear, but when I get back home, that's going right back in my medicine cabinet, right? Because 9 times out of 10, 90% of that stuff won't even be used during the trip.
Yeah, let's hope.
So
So
yes.
Sal, do you have your first aid kit?
Not with me, but I have it.
Yeah, I
could
wanted
go-
I wanted to grab it, and I'm not sure where mine is. It's over in that region of my office, which I'm not going to turn the camera that direction because it would terrify people.
I could go get my first aid kit if you want.
If you know where it is and you can get it quickly, we're going to talk about first aid kits, and I want
Okay.
to show that specific one, if that's okay with you.
Or is that
Okay.
a subject, the first aid kits, that we should defer looking at the time?
Yeah, Will, I want to touch on it real quick because someone asked about it, but we can cover it in more detail later or discuss it within the group. Water filters, another crew gear item.
Leave the water filter at home and use the tablets.
Use the tablets.
Yeah, so
I will tell you, we didn't have much need for tablets or a water filter this time around because almost every staff camp had a spigot.
yeah.
But we did use our Sawyer squeeze. It didn't, it doesn't add a whole lot to anything. So
Yeah. The streams at Philmont are fairly silty. They will clog a filter pretty fast. So personal recommendation, we carried a filter several years back. We got into the MicroPure tablets and haven't looked back.
Yep.
So this filter was carried in 2017. It's a Platypus Gravity Works. We used the filter pretty exclusively. We've only used tablets once or twice. And to Daryl's point, this hadn't been used since then. And I just noticed the intake tube is clogged with silt. So that is genuine Philmont silt right there, people. That's yeah.
We had this conversation last month, and I think filters was one of the things that we decided we wouldn't bring again.
So, and that's why I wanted to get this out and show people, is to show that I used to use this. I have carried this. The first trek I was on, we carried a pump filter. That was miserable. I recommend that you never carry a pump filter unless, like, for some operational reason, you're someplace where you have to. And I can't think of what that would be.
The other thing you want
last resort.
Yeah, if you have to carry a filter.
Yeah,
and those things break
carry
easily too. Those pumps. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're worried about carrying 12 grams for a stove, you don't want to carry a filter.
Right. But we carried this. We used it in 2017. It was awesome having the gravity filter, and I was a filter evangelist. And then last year when we did this, the gear discussion, Scott and some of the other folks were pretty persuasive, and they convinced me there may be an option to not take a filter. So when we had the discussion with the crew that I went with, not only did they reject my cooking method recommendations, I offered them the use of my gravity filters, and they said, we're just going to use the tablets. And I was most nervous about that. I knew the cooking method would work. I was nervous about the water. It was no issue at all. It was wonderful just using the tablets. I'll never carry a filter unless there's some specific reason where Philmont says we have this issue with the water this year and we recommend everyone bring a filter. In that case, we'll take one. But otherwise, I am now out of the filter evangelist camp, and I'm in the I'm on team MicroPure now.
There you go. Tablets all
The
the way.
other thing is, with water, it's not only the filter, it's the purification.
Mm-hmm.
Filtering, you can do that with a bandana to some degree, and letting it settle in your Nalgene. You don't need to bring the filter, but the thing you really, really want to get is the purification.
Sure.
And killing all those bad germs that are in there.
Yep.
And the tablets will do that.
And you brought up Nalgene. That'd be a good discussion for a later thing about whether to take Nalgene or not.
Yeah.
Not tonight. That's
see, that was quick. Just don't.
We need to talk about your gift list, though, too.
We'll get to that. And speaking of crew gear, I'm going to make a plug for the Dromedary bags from MSR. This is a regular drum bag, and
we had those. Those are
somewhere good. I have the drum light bag, which is the lighter version. These are good if you want bulk water, if you're going to have dry camps on your trek and you need a little bit more water carrying capacity. I also like the, all right, what was the brand? Is it Hydro Pack, I think, the Seeker. I carried a 2, a 3, and a 4 liter soft side bags. Wonderful. They weigh next to nothing. They actually weigh, like the 3 liter bag weighs the same as a 1 liter smart water bottle. Crazy light. You get a bunch of extra capacity. You roll it up, shove it in your bag. It's there if you need it. That can be part of your crew gear, either a larger dromedary bag, a 4, 6, 8, 10 liter bag, or, which is hard to carry, you think about carrying a 10 liter bag as a crew. Who you going to make carry this? That's a lot of weight.
We had 2 6-liter MSR bags, and they were heavy enough, but I didn't carry them.
Yeah.
Only time I carry extra bags if I have a dry camp. Otherwise, I ain't carrying them.
Yep.
Simple as that. I mean, if I don't have a dry camp, like this year, I had the dry camps, so I didn't take any extra bags.
Or when you're in camp and you go down to the stream and draw your water for, the large quantity of water that you're going to use for cooking and cleanup and refilling your bottles. Now, here's one that an advisor did a couple of years back. I kind of liked it. The prep was great. The bladder from a Starbucks big box of coffee, if you get the box, or this gentleman, prep was wonderful. The bladder out of wine in a box.
Okay.
Prepping was great. And then
I
he
better
took,
start drinking.
there you go. And then he took the mesh bag that oranges come in, and he put that bladder inside that mesh bag to hold it.
That's perfect.
And talk about lightweight. I mean, that was in grams.
Yeah.
But like I say, prepping was great, drinking all that wine to get the bladder clean.
Okay. I got first aid kit.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Another thing back on food, this is a very relevant question about when you're picking your food method, the equipment you take. If you have people with allergies and you have to keep food separated, what I've seen people do within the group is if they have food allergies, those people will generally carry their own pot. Like if they're super sensitive and like if something's cooked in a pot today and they eat out of it tomorrow, they can get sick from it, then they need to carry their own pot.
Yes.
But if you have very specific questions, talk to your doctor, talk to your allergist, talk to the med staff at Philmont to be sure that you're doing whatever you need to. We do not want anyone to have, no one wants anyone to have allergic reactions on the trail. That's a very preventable thing. I hate to carry weight. I don't want to carry a gram of weight more than I have to. But if it keeps you from having to deal with someone going down on the trail or, God forbid, having to do paperwork because someone didn't make it,
necessarily affect your stove choice. And if it is,
if it's one person, do you need to carry a big sturdy stove and an extra 8-liter pot? Yeah,
no, that's where I was going to go. You could probably go with
something.
You could go with a Jetboil. You could go with a small propane stove, and in that case, a small pot that you're putting on top, 16, 18 ounces. You could probably use one of those stoves that you screw on top of the canister.
Yep. Okay, so that's a great question to ask in the group and get some more feedback from people who have went with people with severe allergies to be sure that anything that we missed, they can alert you to. Okay, Sal, would you like to talk briefly about your first aid kit?
No.
Briefly.
Okay. Briefly, my first aid kit. I've worked with North American Rescue, and we have created a first aid kit. I think it's on our Facebook page, correct, Mr. Jeff? Somewhere back there, we posted all the information about it.
Yeah.
We could repost
an article specific to it, but you can go to North America. If you call North American Rescue and tell them you need the I can't
The
remember what they
Philmont
call it
version.
now.
The backpack first aid kit, Suncoast
Yeah,
Wilderness
yeah.
First Aid backpack first aid kit.
Yeah.
They'll know which one. The only thing it does not have in it, it's because of the medical issues and all that stuff, is your medicines, your ibuprofen, your aspirins, and all that stuff.
And I think that they can provide those now, Matt. So what Sal's talking about, we work together. My publication, Gear Report, and North American Rescue wanted to do a special first aid kit just for Philmont treks. So with Sal being a wilderness first aid instructor who specializes in Philmont, he was brought in to be the expert and spec everything that goes in this kit. So without going over everything that's in the kit, I'll say that this kit is designed specifically for Philmont. And Matt at North American Rescue had told us that some of those over-the-counter things would not be included because of rules. But then he got back to us right at the end of trek season and said moving forward, he believes that stuff is going to be able to be included, that they've figured out a workaround. So this could be short version. Sal came up with a kit that he showed you the kind of the card that goes in it that had all the products listed on it. Sal designed a kit just for Philmont, and we will, if you call North American Rescue and ask for it, they can send you that kit. And I think that last time we checked, it was what, $46 or something?
Yeah, $46, which is not bad. It's pretty cool. It comes in a little pouch like this, if everybody can see it, a little Ziploc bag. So you can carry it like that or put it inside. I left mine in this. Luckily, I didn't have to open it this summer at all. Actually, I did for blisters. But I was great. It worked out perfectly. I liked it. I just had to add a few things that weren't in there that they couldn't get, but nothing major. But if you have any questions, just that people can message me or email me or whatever, I'll be glad to work with everybody on what to bring and how to pack it and all that good stuff. But it's a good little kit. I will rescan this little thing here and post
I've
it.
got a soft copy of that
Okay.
I can share with you. Or it's in the email from Matt.
Yeah.
Okay, but definitely that's something that I want to talk about in more detail. Maybe I need to put an article together on Gear Report that specs everything out about that and gives people links and maybe make like a sticky. Maybe we should do a sticky about that in the group so that people can find that more easily.
Also, Philmont is back to requiring 2 people for wilderness first aid for the summer, not 1. They're back to 2. So everybody's going to need two per crew, unless you're a doctor, et cetera, et cetera. So time to get everybody's.
And I would suggest even more.
Yeah, minimum 2, maximum everybody.
Yeah,
our crew going next year is having everybody go. So
Murphy's going to get his foot in the door here, and the guy with wilderness first aid training is the guy laying on the ground.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or the guy who comes off the trail.
I usually try to have 3 to 4 people per crew.
North American Rescue, the Philmont kit, and they don't know it as the Philmont kit. It's the Suncoast Wilderness First Aid. It's WFA backpacking first aid kit, and we'll get you the specific product number on that. I just don't have it in front of me at this second, but it's in the group, and we'll repost that in the next day or two. It is specifically a crew kit. It is designed for a crew going to Philmont,
A crew 12.
Yeah, and that's something that we can modify for other camps if we want to, and have them make some additional. I think they'll be willing to do some more custom kits for us if we want, but people are going to actually have to buy some of these in order to motivate them to do that. So I don't know, but it is a crew kit, and that's what it's made for. So all right,
I got a quick question on the side, Sal.
Yes, sir.
Look, could we put something together where we pull out the from the guidebook to adventure what Philmont recommends as a crew first aid kit, and tick off what American or North American Rescue has in the kit? How does it match up?
Okay, I can do that. I'll do that. I'll do a Facebook post. I'll do that tomorrow.
Awesome.
I'll check off and also I'll list the things that I put that they don't put. It's my little personal things I like to put in there. Because example, I know everybody knows the scout things you're supposed to carry when you backpack, the essentials.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, I put that in my first aid kit, a little package of that, because my first aid kit's going everywhere with me. So whether I'm going to do a day hike, I got my 10 Scout essentials with me. I got a little baby flashlight and all that junk in it. That's part of it's not first aid kit, but for me, it's the first aid kit's coming with me anyways. I might as well put that in there. So
Okay.
little things like that. But I will do that next day too.
Yeah, 75-liter pack, you can carry a Scout on your back. I am going to take the opposite approach, Facebook user. With the 75-liter pack, a Scout could carry me on his back. I'm on vacation.
There you go. You're on vacation. Yeah, right.
Which is absolutely not true. I'm one of the few people who is working when I'm on the trail at Philmont.
That becomes a business expense.
Absolutely.
75 with a 75-liter, you could carry a chair too.
Oh my goodness. I could. Yeah, speaking of wilderness first aid and losing people, this is where preparation can be so critically important. I don't know anything about the specific situations with any of those people, but what I see most often, what I have seen most often, are injuries due to improper gear. Those are completely preventable. Injuries because people are out of shape and hit the trail. You know, honestly, when are you most likely to get hurt? When you're exhausted. When are you going to be exhausted? When you haven't prepped appropriately. So I'm going to use this as a segue to show one more article here. If I can find it, here it is. Philmont Adult Crew Advisor Physical Preparation. We have an article that helps you understand the situation you're getting yourself into and some of the things that go wrong and ways to prepare so you can prevent those things going wrong. We have tons of experience and knowledge cataloged in here. You can read. This isn't me telling you what to do. In large part, this is a summary of what other experienced people who've been out to Philmont multiple times have to say about getting in shape, being in shape when you hit the trail at Philmont so that you don't get hurt, so you don't slow your crew down. And, some things that you and other crew advisors can do so that you'll be ready. And this thing just keeps going. That's a big article. There is a lot of knowledge shared in there. So please, do you guys agree? I think the most frequent post-trek feedback that I see from adults is, oh, wow, I really didn't prepare physically as much as I should have. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Everybody, I think, underestimates the difficulty. They think it's, I'm going to go backpacking. It's going to be easy. I tell people this is going to be the hardest thing most people have done in their life, whether you're an adult or a child or kid.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I was in better shape than I've ever been outside of high school cross country training. But at 50 plus, I feel great, and I still had a hard time. So you got to really train.
Yeah, if you can, the issue is if you can prevent it, you don't have to treat it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
to the question on the board, 8.
There you go. 8 to 12 if
a minimum of 8.
Yes. Gotcha.
Wait, that's the minimum of people is 8.
8, you must have 2 adults.
Right.
So you could do 6 and 2.
Right.
You could. Whew, that'd be tricky. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that either, but yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the max would be 12 people. So you could have 2 and 10.
All right. I'm trying to get us back on track. I'm not trying to cut anyone off here, but I'm going to blast through some of the comments I got behind on here real quick. Multiple platypus bags, 1 liter, 2 liter, weigh nothing, hold up well, weigh nothing. Yeah, platy bags, great. The Hydro Pack bags are awesome.
Platy bags for those days when you have, long hike, minimum water, or you're going into a dry camp. You can load those platy bags up.
Yep.
And they weigh nothing when they're empty.
Yep. Lots of different options there. I'm a big fan, by the way. I know this is personal gear. Huge fan of having a hydration tube, but not putting the bag in your pack, keeping it out where you can see how much you've consumed and you can refill it without taking your pack off. Just pull it out, take the top off, fill it. You don't have to get into your pack to get to it. Huge fan of that.
Do you have a photo of that setup that you can post later?
I can get one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's our Facebook user was kind enough to share the part number. If you call North American Rescue, go to the NAR website, look up their phone number, and ask for that 85-3446, and they will get that right out to you. Awesome kit. Craig says,
I put that they don't put. It's my little personal things I like to put in there. Because example, I know everybody knows the scout things you're supposed to carry when you backpack. Well, things I like to put in there. Because example,
I think Sal said that earlier. How are we hearing that again?
Things you're supposed to carry when you backpack.
I don't know how that happened. Sal is a ventriloquist now.
I think that was my fault on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else did I miss here?
95 liter is a pretty large pack. Greg?
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to buy a new one, but that's expense. But I certainly wouldn't load that up.
So one of the guys on the trek this summer, I actually mentioned him earlier, the Scott who also had the bidet, who went on 2 treks this summer, he carried a 45 liter pack, and sure. And he's an adult. He's not a small person either. So, that makes a difference. If you're a little miniature scout, your clothes and some of your gear isn't as big and bulky, but big people, they need bigger stuff. And he fit it all in there. It was super tight. He didn't do it because it was the smart thing to do. He had, I think his brother-in-law had purchased that pack to take to Philmont and then passed away. So it was an emotional commitment to take that pack. Otherwise he wouldn't have done it. But he made it work. It meant lashing things to the outside sometimes, but he made it work. So you can get by with very little space. I
have an 85 liter pack, and it was fine, but you just don't put 85 liters worth of crap in it. You put 65 liters worth of crap in it. So, or 50, that's why we took this to every training, which we could go right into the training. So the boys could see how much they had. So
another comment, while you can't train with it and figure it out, what works best for you, Philmont has packs for rent. If you're in a situation where, $100 and a quarter, $150 or whatever for a pack isn't going to work for you, I think it's around $20. You can rent a very good, I think they use Osprey out there at Philmont. You can rent that, for your time. True, you don't get a chance to practice with it. They will certainly work with you on fitting it, but that's an alternative if your economic situation is such that
last year they were $30 for the week.
Oh, it was 30? Okay.
Yeah, it's 30.
I've heard people say that they fit them expertly and all of that as well. But a good friend of mine was one of the managers at To the Time a couple years ago. And he said that often the people working the floor that do that kind of fitting stuff at the store are locals that aren't really that well trained. So I I love the people at the Tooth of Time Traders, a great store, all of that, but I don't go to them for gear advice. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, they don't just take it off the rack and hand it to you. I mean, they at least do some effort of trying to get it. You know, maybe it's not as great as what REI would do, but you know, they do make some effort
Right.
to fit it
Yeah.
to you.
Right. Yeah. The problem comes when they give you bad information, which has happened to me before. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out. All right, if I stop sharing that screen, share, and I'll go to this window.
While you're doing it, the other thing on this too is, while a lot of this equipment, crew gear, and it drift over to personal gear, you know, becomes a little personal and crew dependent. Maybe if you're looking for gifts, maybe a gift certificate, you know, a card or something, you know, to REI or, you know, one of the outfitting stores in your area, you know,
Yeah.
rather than buying specific.
And so something that came up in the group today was someone asked about gifts, and I made a comment that I'm actually working on an article. I had hoped to have it published before this discussion, but it didn't happen. I'm working on an article about gifts for people who go to Philmont. So, and I'm going to get that done probably this week, hopefully, and get it published and shared on the group. And it will reference things from the Tooth of Time Traders, from big outdoor stores, whatever. Some of it will be trail stuff. Some of it will be like memento stuff for after. I love the idea of, if Tooth of Time Traders has gift cards, maybe getting that for people who are going to go out there so they can get either gear or souvenirs, whatever they need. I think there are a lot of great options there, but that's something that I want to, in the next week or two, get that article published and then have some pretty robust discussion in the Facebook group so that all the creative ideas come out and we get the benefit of all of that. All right. And I want to show you guys, Scott asked to see what I was talking about with carrying water. How's that showing? That's all right. I think I've about got this window enlarged as much as I can.
That may have to be a new Facebook post. That's a little small on my screen.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll make it as big as I can here, but if you're looking at like a phone screen, it'll be hard to see. If you're on a computer, then this video showing how I've got 2 smart water bottles in the side pouch of my pack. This is the last day as we're doing the trail that never ends, wrapping its way down into base camp. And you see the 2 smart water bottles sitting on one side with the hydration tube going into one of them. And all right, dude, hurry up and turn. Keep going. So on the other side, then you see a platypus bottle. And it could be, I would sometimes carry a 3 or even a 2 or 3 liter soft bottle on that side. That happened to be a 1 liter because of where we were on the trail. We didn't really need any more at that time. But so that's how I carry it.
One of our guys got a 2.5 liter platypus, fixed a tube to it and put it in the overhead on his backpack behind it. Made his own little, hydration pack.
Sure.
I have the apparatus that I know I'm going to mention this word and Jeff is going to cringe. The Nalgene hard bottles that converts that to the tube. So it makes like a you don't have to you could just leave it in your backpack and use the tube to drink out of.
You said the N word. Oh,
I know. I said the N word.
I carried an Nalgene on my first trek, so it's not like I hate them. I just think that there are better options today. All right, another question, and we are wrapping up. I'm getting private messages left and right from people saying, "Guys, we've been almost 2 hours. We've got to wrap up," and they're right. So we're going to wrap this up here shortly. I'm going to do one thing on Facebook user has been prolific with the questions tonight. Thank you so much. You are an overachiever. Thank you. But I want to share with Facebook user a screen. Here we go. The question about how to deal with altitude. So we had an expert write an article for us, The Flatlander's Guide to Altitude Sickness While Backpacking at Philmont. A very acclaimed author here, Philmont expert, altitude expert, Scott O'Mary. So go check out that article. You can Google Flatlander's Guide to Altitude Sickness While Backpacking at Philmont, or you can go to Gear Report and hit the camp section, go to the Philmont page, and there, oh, look at that, Daryl with his water bottle and my gear rundown articles and everything. It's all in there, except I don't think the most recent one got published. I'm gonna have to do that. Anyhow, you can find lots of information in there. So I welcome you to go check it out at your leisure when we're not trying to wrap up the broadcast.
Comments and advice on altitude? Yes, Philmont has altitude.
Lots of it.
Lots of it.
6,500 to 12,000. Spending most of your time probably between 8 and 10.
And I'm barely at 100.
Yeah. And even if you've not had issues with it before, don't think that means you're not going to have issues with it next time you go. I speak from experience that my second time I had very unexpected altitude issues that were pretty debilitating. I didn't have to come off trail, but they were bad. The last time they were much more manageable, and that was after working up to altitude in the few days prior to getting on the trail. So definitely, the better shape you're in, the better you're going to be able to deal with that. The better diet you have, the better habits you have for nutrition, the better you're going to be prepared to deal with that. But certainly go read that altitude article and the how to prep, to get in shape to go to Philmont. Read those and you'll be in much better shape in that regard. I'm going to make last call right now. If you have any questions about crew gear or gifts or anything like that you just absolutely have to talk about now, go ahead and put them in the comments. Oh, this is my favorite kind of question right here. All right, here we go. Look at that. Knowledge and humor. All right, excellent. And Facebook user,
Do we know which is which?
Nope.
I would say that those watching this can tell that everybody has a difference of opinion on certain things. So some of it's personal preference. Some are things that we've tried and we've liked, and so you really have to figure out what works for you and your group and what they want to do. So it's I don't think there's a right answer.
Things we've tried and don't like too.
Yeah, exactly.
At the time it seemed like a great idea, but in hindsight, nah.
Yep,
this is true. Right. Some things work. Okay, well, everything's good.
I'll work on Facebook user. Excellent.
I will work on the first aid comparison book there.
All right.
Yeah, I think that'll be good, and people can say, well, Philmont is recommending this. How does that kit match up to it?
Yeah, I will. I'll take care of it.
Yeah. Pulse oxygen meter. That could be useful. I know a lot of smartwatches. A lot of people carrying smartwatches now for other reasons. And if you have that and it has a reliable pulse oximeter built into it, you can always put that on the wrist of someone who's having an issue as well. So it's amazing the technology we have today, what people can do. Oh my goodness. Chris, do you really think I'm going to share this comment? Oh, I hate to. I got to look away while I do it. Oh, I feel dirty having clicked that.
Yes.
Pretty bad. Oh my goodness.
You're outnumbered this time, so
yeah, you're outnumbered. So
Andy's not here to help bail you out. So
I have the truth on my side, and apparently I have Sal on my side now too. Check that out.
Oh, yeah.
How did that happen?
You need a chair.
I didn't do that.
You need a chair so you can put your foot and your boot up on it so you can tie it.
Oh, okay. Solar panels as crew gear. That's an interesting question.
Doesn't work when it's
We
not
kind of
it's sunny.
treated it. We kind of treated it like that this summer. One of our
What-
guys brought a panel.
Why do you
And it
need
actually
a
worked
solar
out
panel?
okay.
What do you need a solar
Hey.
panel for?
We had a guy need it for CPAP.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Yep. I
Other
carry
than
battery packs.
medical issue,
Yeah, I carry
Other than
battery
medical?
packs, and one of our guys carried a solar panel, and it was for pictures and video. And for me, it was work related because this is what I do for a living, and I
I
needed to be able to
understand
take
that,
video on
but-
the trail. Everyone else wanted to take pictures instead of carrying extra camera batteries. They had the solar panel and recharge their phones and use that, but also to play Jetpack Joyride every day, which annoyed me to no end. So don't bring Jetpack
my
Joyride
po-
on phones.
my point is, you know, leave the technology at home and enjoy the outdoors and the trek and the adventure.
Yes.
Yes. All right. We're not going to make it 2 hours, I don't think. We're an hour and 50 minutes, and I think it's time to wrap up. So let's go around the horn. We'll do that way and then down and around. Parting words from everyone, words of wisdom, advice, or just goodbye, whatever you want to say.
Just hike on.
Oh,
Over to you, Rob.
I actually, I think I did my final thing about, a minute ago. So icon, that's good.
And I mine on the opening front end, read the information that Philmont provides. It'll answer all kinds of questions, whether we're needed or not. We can always ad lib. But yeah, hike on. Glad to be here.
Hike on, and anybody not ready? Make it so.
Oh, come on. That's how I was going to end it. That's how we ended the last one. But I thought that was kind of clever when we did it too. So I'm going to wrap up by saying a couple things real quick. Number one, a massive, massive, massive thank you to all of our panelists for being here. The amount of experience and knowledge and the willingness to share it is so impressive. And it makes me proud to be a part of the group, seeing how everyone comes together to do these. The great questions, a little bit of playful banter, but a lot of really good information and questions from the panelists and from the folks out in the discussion. Thanks everyone so much for being a part of it. We really appreciate that.
Quick question, Jeff and Scott, what's our membership on this Facebook page? 4,200 better?
Roughly about 4,500 members on the Facebook page. Yes.
Yeah, something like that. We've hit a growth spurt again as people are starting to get ready for treks. Another agenda item I want to wrap up with is we had there's a new section for trek openings. So if you have a crew coming up that you're trying to fill slots on, feel free to post, read the rules for that pinned post at the top. It's very specific about what we want to see in those posts, information about what you need, where you are, that kind of thing, cost and dates. Post that, and then people will reach out to you via private message. That's if you need people for your crew, whether it's youth, adults, male, female, specify whatever you need to specify. We are also asking if you want to join Team Freelancer and make yourself available to join a crew that either needs adults or youth or whatever. You're welcome to put your pitch up there for why someone should reach out to you privately and ask. So that's how we're helping people make connections there. We're going to address Philmont gifts in the discussion and some articles here shortly. So look for that. If you have any
other thing,
you can put them in there.
The other thing, Jeff, on that openings is if you're a one or two person, you're wanting to go to Philmont, is there a group in your area that you could hook up with? Yeah,
absolutely. And always start there, I think, just because it's easier when you get together with people for prep. If you stumbled on us somehow, I don't even know how you'd find us and not know about the group, but here's what you type in Facebook: Philmont Trek Talk Prep News Info. Type that in Facebook and you'll find our group, and you can be a part of it and share in the joy. And the last, I think it may be the last link, we already talked about my shameless plug for Gear Report, but I wanted to share a link if I can find it. There it is. If you want to go somewhere other than Philmont, Rob's done a lot of work putting together information on high adventure scouting, so you can go find other adventurous options scattered around the country that are operated outside of the big BSA high adventure camp network. So definitely a good resource for the times when you're not going to Philmont. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll end it the way we do on the trail, right? I think it's time to shut it down. Is anybody not ready?
Glad
All
we're
right.
not doing thorns and roses.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the proper response is, but I'm going to hit the button that says end broadcast.